Hey everyone, today I want to talk about social media and its impact on artists. I'm going to divide the conversation into four main groups of platforms. The forums that a lot of you might never heard about. I'm going to dive deeper a little bit into them, how they worked, and some of the pros and cons that I think those platforms had and those interactions between people had. Then going into Facebook, a lot of things started changing. If you watched like Social Dilemma and all of that, you understand the algorithm and everything, and it gets even more complicated when you get to Instagram. ArtStation as a portfolio platform has a little bit of a similar dynamic, and I'll explain why. And Discord nowadays is a very interesting platform, but also has its pros and cons that I'm going to try and dive deeper. So basically, forums in a nutshell was a website where you posted. It's like Reddit nowadays. So you had a basic page, and this is a print screen from a presentation by Rowan Crawford about the Siegen forums and everyone that used to go there and interact and all of that. I'll add a link in the description. I couldn't find the screen from the website itself. That's why I'm adding it here. But you can understand that it came from all the way back in the 90s to late almost 2010. So 18 years here in this print screen, a lot of posts, but the numbers weren't as big as we see today. So you had 2,400 users online at that time, so that's expressive. But for nowadays numbers, it's a different conversation. A lot of people were just entering the space. You didn't have this massive platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. So the numbers were a lot different, and I think they play a huge part on that. And some of the people that went to forums and interacted and grew a lot, I have discussed in this video. I'll add a link in the description as well. So they were really actively posting and interacting and commenting, helping other people grow and sharing what they discovered and all of that. So I think it was a very community driven environment. So let's jump into the topics and start discussing everything. I think this is the most important part of the whole conversation. So the first topic, there were no likes. Of course, you could like a post and everything, but there wasn't a like culture. It started later on with Facebook very strongly. And I think even back in the Siegen days, you didn't have an upvote or a liking system. So this is very important to why you were posting. You are not posting for publicity. You are mostly posting or for the dopamine hit and everything. You were posting for discovery and growth. You wanted to learn stuff. You want to try and you were looking at amazing artists doing great things. Digital painting was starting up a lot around the Siegen forums back in the 90s. And then later on, they were starting to learn how to control and use different tools and everything. And those discussions really grew. But it was all about learning to do stuff because you didn't have YouTube. We're talking about the 90s and early 2000s. You didn't have a lot of information out there. You had a Gnomon workshop just starting out. So it was hard to find things and understand how things were done. Even the production companies and movies and games, they were figuring out themselves how to do things. And a lot of those discussions were happening around forums as well. You had a lot of 3D forums. I added here Siegen forums and conceptart.org that are the biggest 2D that I can remember. Please add in the comments if you are from this era and if you experienced this and if there are any others that you remember. But you had like Polycount, you had ZBrush Central, you had a lot of 3D environment discussions, and then later on you had real-time VFX for VFX. Even real-time VFX is a great example of forums working nowadays. So if you want to see the dynamics of a forum, go to realtimevfx.com. I'll add a link in the description as well. So it was about discovery, as I said, and growing as an artist and growing as a community, helping each other grow and other people interacting with you. It was a very collaborative effort. It was super driven to work in progress. We can see in that print screen once again that there was one area completely dedicated to work in progress. So it wasn't so focused around the finished product. So it, once again, not around publicity. It also was more direct of a comparison. You were going into other people's threads and seeing what they're looking, and you could be a little envy here and there. Oh my God, how they did that, and how are they growing so fast, and how can they post like 20 posts a week or stuff like that. But it wasn't an indirect comparison that everyone was posting like we have in Instagram nowadays, and I'm going to discuss more of that when I get there. You had rules. For example, we can see in this Twitter post by Craig Mullins that used to go to CGM forums a lot, and I love his humor as well. You had to paint to post. That was an informal rule in the CGM days. So it's really interesting that it wasn't about like being there and chatting to the community. It was about doing work, putting in the hours, putting in the effort, and sharing what you're doing, the things you discovered, and where you were lacking. The another good part of that, it was public. It was small and public. So that's an interesting combination that we don't have nowadays. So jumping into Facebook, we started the like trend and the likes thing. It got really big here. And to be honest, it started like a big downward spiral of why we did art. At that time, when I was posting on Facebook, I had this painting up, and this painting had the most likes I think I ever got to any painting in my life. And it wasn't what I wanted to do professionally. It's funny to look nowadays and look back and see that animals and all the relationship it has with me and what I want to do as an artist, as a hobbyist artist nowadays. But professionally, it wasn't what I wanted to do. But it could have driven me into this direction if I was just going for the likes. I have a friend, SulaMoon, an illustrator from Brazil, and she painted an egg studying like reflections and subsurface scattering and all of that. And the egg also for a long time was the most liked piece on her Facebook. So it's funny to see how things work and how social media can drive you in interesting but dangerous directions if you just follow the likes. It was about growth and learning, but at this time we already had YouTube growing a lot and a lot of information out there, different magazines, different websites sharing content and selling courses online and everything that were starting to boom. So you didn't go to Facebook for discovery as much. You had that, you had the groups and everything that were sharing information, but it started getting into publicity. So you were posting your work to get the likes, to get known, to grow as a brand, as an individual brand. So it was about the communities, but it started being a lot about the individual. The spotlight was on top of one person and they had their page, and that will really grow with Instagram and ArtStation. It's about the self and not the community, the art community, the tribe, sharing and everything. We kind of lost that a little bit in here. I think the groups still had the community sense, but if they kept small. This is where it was starting to grow too much, and some of the communities and groups had like 20,000, 100,000 members, and a lot of people interacting and even like publicizing themselves inside there and not sharing. So it had a little bit of a whip, work in progress kind of culture, but the finished product start gaining more and more attention and emphasis and importance. The direct competition was still there, especially inside the groups. You saw individuals posting, but it started getting more and more into indirect competition. And what's that all about? You're looking at a very big pool of people doing a lot of different things. So sculpture, painting, drawing, and always posting. And it seems like only you are lacking. Only you aren't posting, doing enough. I think that's really big, and that grew a lot with Instagram as well and ArtStation. If you go to the homepage and the Rio and all of that, that's really big. Everyone seems to be better than yourself, posting more and putting in the work while you are procrastinating and stuff like that. And it compounds into a snowball of anxiety and a lot of things that you had a little bit in the forum days, but not as much. It was the people that were really posting were like 20 tops or 30, sometimes 10, depending. And the top posters were like 5 to 10. So you knew those people, you knew who they were, who were the best there, who were putting in most work and all of that. Now you follow 1,000 people in any platform, and it's really hard to keep up with that competition. The rules were still there in some of those groups, but the groups started getting public and private as well. So you had niche groups that really worked out. I have a lot of friends that got together and grew so much by interacting into smaller groups that they were accountable for posting and had a little bit of the dynamics that were happening in the forums. So I highly recommend finding some people that are eager to learn and getting together in smaller communities more than bigger communities. Almost what I was saying with the forums. The forums had like 5 to 10 people that were really, really posting, that were interacting as a community, that know each other really well, that have talked, that have chatted, followed their work for a long time, and so on. And I highly recommend doing that on your own as well. So Instagram it's where, and ArtStation as well, it's where I think it gets really, really bad, to be honest, in terms of it's all driven to likes and publicity of your work. You're not sharing things on those platforms to learn. You're sharing to get seen, to get hired, or to get likes, to get dopamine hit, and so on and so forth. It's very individual focused. You lost the sense of community. Sometimes ArtStation has a competition or so where people can interact a little bit, but mostly focused on the individual. The spotlight is on the individual, and you have a lot of indirect competition. Once again, it's just finished work. You lost the sense of work in progress. You don't have those interactions anymore. Now with stories, you have a little bit of that, and please share in the comments if you use that for work in progress and for learning and for asking opinions and all of that. I think there are some interesting dynamics here and there that people are able to build themselves, but mostly is for the likes, is for the publicity. Indirect competition, it got really, really big here. Everyone is really good. You are just following the people you admire, and it seems that you are always bad. It seems that you're always not doing enough, not putting in the work. Every time you join Instagram, or you open the app, or you go into ArtStation, there is a new post by someone. So they are all out there producing so much, and you are lacking. So this is so harmful and very, very detrimental to your growth. So please try and steer away a little bit from that. And I think smaller groups, and I'm going to talk about Discord in a bit, are the way to go. You can really have more of a direct competition and collaboration as well. There are no rules. So now with AI, we're seeing that even bigger discussion of what kind of rules should go into this. You don't have the paint to post kind of rules and dynamics and all of that. It's just a Wild West where everyone is posting. And even worse than that, there is a lot of distractions. Instagram especially, and Facebook has had a lot of that as well. you are not focusing just on art. You can, for example, the forum days, you could just restrict your browser to just go into CGEM or conceptart.org or something like that. So during the week, for example, you couldn't go into anything else or just Google for references and stuff like that. You could get away from those distractions. When you're using Facebook or Instagram to share your work, to have that sense of community, there are so many distractions that can take you to down the rabbit hole, and you come back 3 hours later from like just watching reels and stuff like that. It's really harmful in ArtStation as well, but it's a different rabbit hole where you're gonna see a lot of artworks and all of that, and you can get very intimidated. Once again, the indirect competition. And I say ArtStation here, but it could be Behance, it could be DeviantArt. I believe DeviantArt had a little more of a community sense as well. And some of the people that I mentioned that were going to the forums that I discussed on my video were also posting a lot on DeviantArt. That's where I found a lot of their old work, and we could discuss that. So if you've been to DeviantArt a lot and you understand a little more the community, please share in the comments below. That it will be great conversation. And last but not least, it's mostly public. I've added private here because you can have like a close friends in Instagram and all of that, and have those closer relationships that are not public, but it's mostly public. Everything that you're putting out there will be seen by a lot of people, and the other way around as well. Everything that people put out there are gonna impact you directly. So the last one, and I think this is a good one, and it's a good opportunity as well, is Discord. The likes are way less important than those two platforms. You definitely have the likes, but I at least in my experience, and please comment if your experience is different, I don't care a lot by the likes that I put there, especially because when I was interacting with a lot of people on Discord, I'm adding a lot of work in progress and this kind of stuff. I want to see what people comment and their opinions on what I'm doing, instead of the likes, instead of every single like in every one of those images that I posted. It's more about growth. It's not about discovery anymore, because we have all the information that you need on YouTube, and you're here watching this. You could be watching any of the very big channels out there that have people that worked in the biggest game companies and are sharing knowledge. You have a lot of podcasts. I'm going to add some to the description here as well, because I think it's the best way you can learn about the industry without directly interacting, and you can listen while you're drawing, while you're painting and all of that, and get your information without all the distraction. It's about community. It's not about individual and publicity anymore. It's a little bit about individual, but if you go into the right Discord server, they almost create a small tribe of themselves. It would be great to see even like competitions between Discord servers. Maybe that's happening, I don't know. But you had in forums, you had Dominance War, for example. Please search that if you don't know what that is. Some of the best artists hired by some of the biggest game companies in the industry won or had honorable mentions in the Dominance War days. So it would be great to see that, but you have the sense of being part of something like special, a community, a place where you have your home, if I could say, when people are really interacting with a Discord server. I think it's getting back to that sense. We had some of that with Facebook groups. We had some of that with forums as well. It's about work in progress and finished work, just as we saw on Facebook and a little bit on forums as well. I could have added like finished work in here. But the culture, I think, has a lot to do with work in progress, as you don't have a lot of that publicity driven mindset. It's direct competition once again. Discord servers tend to be, sometimes they aren't, but tend to be smaller. And the people that are really posting and interacting are very few. Like 20 to 50, I think, would be a good number for any Discord server out there. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I think that's the main way that they are working nowadays. They have a lot of rules as well. And those interactions tend to be more on a personal level, on a community, on a growth, and everything like that. The only big problem actually that I see is that most Discord servers are private, or you have to find them, and they are hard to find. So the nice thing about forums is that a lot of people just found them online. So people like Maciej Kuchara in Poland started studying digital painting through CGEM because he found that, like, searching on Google and all of that. I don't know, to be honest, like, I'm old enough not to know if I can find Discord service on Google and stuff like that. But it would be nice to have even like a little bit of a list of some Discord servers that are focused more on 3D, on ZBrush sculpting, or on 2D concept art, illustration. I know, for example, that Moon Colony, an outsourced studio that focuses on illustration and animation, has a server that a lot of people tend to go to. I think Envor also, that is another outsourced studio, has one, and people tend to interact around like illustration and things that have that kind of Riot and Blizzard style. But what about if you want to do film work? Where should you go? If you want to do more like pixel art animation stuff, where should you go? I think there should be a way to put a list together where people could find their homes, their tribes. And that's my wish for all of you, that you find a small group of people, like-minded people. 3 to 5, I think, is good enough, to be honest. Up to 10, so that you don't lose the track of the system, and really interact. If you want to learn something and someone has already seen that tutorial or read that book, they can share the information and bring knowledge. I remember in the Facebook group days, we had like learning sessions, and I used to attend some of the learning sessions that even grew into bigger stuff, bigger educational content later on. But it was all about that small group of people that I think had like 30 to 40 people tops, and the ones that were interacting the most were 5 to 10. So it was a really good dynamic and a mentality of community growth, of helping each other. And this is what I wish for the whole art community, that we are able, and in this AI times and everything, we get back together. We get back to learning, to curiosity, not just to focusing on finding a job and getting hired and everything, but look at art with almost a beginner's mindset and want to learn, want to grow. I really like, and I'm going to share Craig Mullen's Twitter here in the comments as well. I really like seeing his attitude towards art. It's almost too much in the humility side and not liking his work at all, but it's a curiosity mindset, always wanting to learn, always looking for the people that have like drawn hands and feet the best way in art history, so that he can bring a little bit of that to his work. Why not do that as a community and really connect and bring people together? That's what I'm trying to do here with this channel as well. So please use the comments to get to know each other, to form little groups, and maybe that can grow into something bigger. That's it from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for staying to the end, and thanks for being part of this community. I hope we can catch up in other videos. Take care. Bye.